What is up, you gorgeous animals? Welcome back to the Esports Rewind I bet you didn't see that one coming, huh?
Me? That sounds more or less in line with what you would say normally. Yeah.
I just, if we're 29-ish episodes in, you got to think of different intros to keep it entertaining. So, what's up, people? My name is Jake. This is my co-host Zane over here.
What's good? What's good?
We talk about esports news, gaming news out there, the craziest stories each and every week, and we also upload the highlights every Sunday. So we hope you guys all enjoy. For anyone celebrating Thanksgiving, it's a bit late, but happy belated Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. What are you thankful for right now? Top of the dome, Jake.
Oh,
Let's go. Rapid fire. Rapid fire.
The growing esports scene. What about you,
good
Zan?
answer.
Fire,
good
fire.
answer.
What about
Yo,
you?
how great the FTC is looking in 2020.
I
fighting games are on point right now.
I knew the second I asked you, you'd have to say something about fighting games. But
well,
hey,
I feel like I've been pretty good about not mentioning it for the past
respectable,
couple weeks.
respectable though. But as per usual, we hope you guys all do enjoy. Any quick notes you want to make before we hop into this?
As always, hey, if you want to listen to us on the go, you can find us as part of the Prediction Esports Talk Show Network right there on the desk, right there. Also find some other cool esports podcasts there. So without further ado, you want to get into it,
Let's take a roll. We hope you all enjoy. All right, Zan, so my first story, a little bit of a throwback. I think a lot of viewers out there know that I like talking about probably 2 or 3 organizations in general. FaZe and OpTic definitely come to the top of the dome. And speaking of top of the dome, we're talking about some former OpTic guys because obviously everyone's now, sadly enough, I don't know why I said that, everyone's a former OpTic member.
No, yeah.
Anyway.
Just watching 5 years, people will be going, OpTic? What is this?
Yo, that's going to be so... man, don't even get me started.
We lean in with the depressing thoughts.
Just like
right away.
Like
Top of the
like
podcast.
Celine Dion in the background, like, do you remember OpTic Gaming?
In the eyes of the angel.
I couldn't think of that woman's name, so I just said Celine Dion. But that's who I was thinking.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're on the same page. Anyway, Nadeshot had a great. The Mob actually had a podcast with Nadeshot the other day, and I was tearing at this. I'm gonna plug them so hard when I release the videos.
I was meaning to watch that actually.
Yeah. It's great. The first hour, some great topics and questions. I'm gonna push that a lot, hopefully, because I find a lot of information via podcasts, and I always link the videos, but I'm surprised people like them don't take more advantage of having Nadeshot as a guest.
Right.
They ask some great questions, but not a lot of clips out there. One that I want to touch on with you, Zan, is actually about former OpTic. We talked about the rumor where Hector had apparently given equity to Nadeshot.
Right, yes.
Nadeshot, I think for like the second time ever, this is the most public ever as well, and it's still not being talked about.
Which is it's a really weird place for him to all of a sudden be dropping these bombs. Like I skimmed through a little bit, and I feel like every time I went to a different part of that podcast, it was like Nadeshot just saying something crazy, and I was like, why are you saying this here?
I swear, I could, if I wanted to, I could get 3 to 4 videos out of that podcast. I'll try and do 2 or 3, but yes, there was a lot of great content where he was just like really open, and I love him for it. But actually, just a quick clarification of this because it's not public anywhere. Nadeshot never got OpTic ownership. It actually played a big role into why he left. Now, let's also preface, him and Hector are best friends. Like, we know that.
They're tight. Like, still to this day, very tight, very close.
But he did stress as well, for about a year or so when he left, they weren't talking. And this was a big reason because, one, Nadeshot just, it's not really a bounce off you. Kind of just wanted to talk about this to get it out there.
Yeah, go for it.
Apologize for that. But, really just Nadeshot saying, one, the players weren't really getting salaries at the time. Remember back in the day, a few years, 4 to 6 to 7 years ago, the money wasn't around. So Hector was making money from the players and the content creators, but he wasn't necessarily dishing out, according to Nadeshot, as much. And Nadeshot felt kind of guilty to ask for more because that was taking directly from Hector's plate and what he was feeding his family with.
Right, of course.
And so one of the reasons that played to factor that why Nadeshot eventually left was he wasn't being paid what he thought he was owed. And alongside that, after being promised ownership, it never came about a year or so later. And I find it really funny because, yes, that's a fine reason to leave, and yes, they're still tight, which is great because this could obviously be a huge fall off like Nadeshot and Nick Merckx.
Yeah, the irony there, right?
Right?
Yeah. Which to a certain extent, I almost don't know if I believe. Well, we don't need to get into the Nick Merckx thing too much, but I kind of don't believe him.
You don't believe Nicky?
Kind of, yeah.
I feel like it'd be tough to come out and say those kind of things, but I love that you kind of would bring that up because in the video, I definitely want to talk about that. The irony of esports going full circle. If you guys have not heard, Nadeshot apparently, according to Nick Merckx, had promised, and I think it is true based off how. I don't know.
No, yeah, because if you think about it, you see all the other things following Nick Merckx saying that. In most other circumstances, there would have been at least 1 or 2 other small pieces of supporting evidence.
And then Scooter Braun.
Yeah.
Braun Braun or Braun, either one.
I think it's Braun.
Obviously, well-known now 100 Thieves investor alongside that. He came out and said that Nadeshot didn't need to respond and actually took the high road. So, frick. But either way, it's full circle. Obviously, the story of Nadeshot promising Nick Merckx ownership, and then eventually Nick Merckx leaving for FaZe Clan. And now we have Hector promising Nadeshot ownership, never getting it. And I find the overall scheme of things, they're still friends, but it's beautiful because of that maybe tiny moment, we get 100 Thieves. And now OpTic is...
I'm sure they're both pretty happy about it. I mean, at the end of the day, they're probably like, yeah, all right, this worked out.
I like to think
best.
they're both happy where they are. And Hector, who would have ever assumed he would be at NRG of all places?
Yeah, right. I thought he was going to be with OpTic until OpTic died. But I mean,
of course.
I guess he was.
Wow, you thought OpTic was going to... I guess...
yeah. I mean,
that's a hairy topic, dude.
Yeah.
We're offending... We've offended every fan out there in some form or another.
Right. Do you want to sprinkle some other stuff in there? Yeah, Banks is a baby.
No, dude. I don't stand by any of these words, okay? I'm just... Anyway, I think it's a very curious story. Now that we do fully know that Nadeshot was not given ownership and that gave birth to 100 Thieves, esports continues to me, Zan, just to be a wild, wild place.
All right, Jake. So, we like to talk about streaming platforms here. I think they are kind of like a large part of where the bread and butter of esports is nowadays, right?
I can certainly agree with you, and I think some of our best debates are about streaming websites now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of why I wanted to talk about Disguised Toast going to Facebook.
Oh,
and how it kind of low-key seems like a bad idea. But over the weekend, I was talking with a friend and kind of came down on like maybe it's low-key genius.
I'm really glad you're bringing this to fruition because we will continue to talk about all these streamers moving platforms.
Absolutely.
And I would say, of all the streamers that have moved so far, his is certainly to me the most controversial, and I was definitely against it when he first came out about it. So I'm glad you brought this up. I'm sure you have stats and stuff to.
Yeah, a couple small ones.
So you might be calling it genius. I'm very curious what you have to say about this.
I'm thinking so, in terms of Facebook being Facebook, right? When you think of streaming platforms, Facebook is not in the conversation.
Fair to say.
Like even as well as big as Facebook is, nobody goes like YouTube versus Twitch versus Mixer versus Facebook.
Yeah, you are correct.
No, yeah, it's the three. But anyway, though, I realized what the big thing for me was the huge audience on Facebook.
Yes.
In comparison to Twitch, we don't have precise numbers for Twitch, and I think this kind of implies that Twitch isn't doing as well as Twitch says they are, because they give really vague, like we know that their daily active user base is 15 million people per day.
Mm-hmm.
And if we extrapolate that out to a month, that's like, it's close to like 450-ish million, like roughly. Of course, it's rough numbers. They don't say precisely, we have these numbers. Versus Facebook, that has over 2 billion users.
Yeah, very similar numbers to YouTube, I believe, in terms of overall users. I actually think that Facebook and YouTube are pretty comparable of a couple billion users.
Yeah, they're pretty close. They're pretty close, but Facebook is still like a little bit, they're edging it out.
Yeah, I mean, they have the user base. Is it a live streaming user base? Different question, but you are correct. They have...
Yeah, and that's the other thing, though. And in another platform, it'd be hard for, like, say on YouTube. YouTube isn't gonna necessarily know, this person likes streaming. We all know YouTube recommendation is like it's a broken system.
Whew, it's a game.
It doesn't work 90% of the time.
Oh, we don't get it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah,
we're getting there. We don't get it.
Yo, Wojcicki, hit us up, put us in the algorithm.
Whiz, I swear, we can really be popping if we get some recommendations going. But either way,
But Facebook, I feel like the power for Facebook is going to come from they know everything about people. And they are really good about putting that data to actual good use. So in Disguised Toast case, out of those 2-point-something billion people, Facebook can say, okay, this person likes, what does Toast play? Hearthstone, TFT,
he's kind of that auto chess zone.
Yeah. They can identify, this is a person who has these interests.
Yep.
Who is, just chilling on Facebook. And so we might just go like, hey, there's this guy over here who's pretty cool. And, maybe check him out. So if nothing else, his viewership might actually grow in a weird way because he's going to be exposed to way more people than ever before.
Yeah, I like the points you make. I think viewership, because we've already looked at some of his numbers.
Right, of course.
For anyone who has not seen, as of this recording, he's only streamed twice, but overall viewership across 5 to 6 hours was over 2 million the first stream, nearly 2 million the second. That's 2 million views. Again, when it comes to breaking down concurrent viewership, it's really tough.
Yeah, especially with Facebook.
That's what makes it very tough.
Facebook is sketchy.
But that's a lot of views. And I think to your point, especially when you think about Facebook and the way they can push people to recommend it or on their feeds, and in terms of viewership wise for Toast, it could be a great move. Obviously, on top of that, you got to think about this. He knew he was sacrificing viewership for getting cash and getting paid. And so ultimately, it's his decision. It's probably a smart one financially for him. And he knew the sacrifice he was making. I love the point that you make that, yes, it could be a great move. It's a mystery, right?
Yeah, it very much is. I think it'll be a couple months before we know for sure.
For sure.
Especially because like Facebook video viewership is kind of sketch in general. They just got caught out having inflated a bunch of video views across the platform by up to, I think the number was 900%, and they actually just settled a lawsuit over that they lost.
Yes.
So who knows if any of the numbers are real.
And that's why it's really tough. We talked about Chinese streaming platforms. The number game is so hard for these sites because when it comes to everything besides Twitch, tracking is just it's not there. It's getting there, but you don't know exactly who to trust.
Well, yeah, because everybody's doing their own numbers and they're just saying like, "Hey, trust me. Trust those guys."
But I think to your point though is another point why YouTube could also succeed. And you're making me think that I was maybe a bit too hard on Toast at the beginning. Because I've had bad experience with Facebook streaming, and when it came to ESL for CSGO, they went to Facebook. It was a terrible move. And obviously Facebook now is in a different time. And I think YouTube has a similar path because they both have such large user bases. And if they both utilize the recommendations and putting those streamers into feeds that they were not exposed to before, this 100% could be the right move. And I think bottom line I need to stress is that Toast made this choice. And so for him, financially, 100% the right move. He felt the sacrifice was worth the cash, and so I'm not blaming him for that. But it's
to that same extent, I would like to highlight one thing that he did that I thought was like amazing. Where I hadn't watched his announcement video
I know,
until over the weekend, where he was like,
it was nice.
That was a baller move. He, instead of doing the standard, we're gonna go into a room with 50 LEDs and have a fake press conference, he was just like, our operating budget for the reveal was $20K, so I just donated that. And
I really did like that. It's crazy.
It's
crazy that a guy like that pulls in. Obviously, Ninja and Shroud probably got even bigger budgets, but his budget being $20,000, and he was like, I'm gonna record this in a hotel room. And then donate to that was really cool.
I appreciated that.
I think the debate will still be there, and I hope we debate this every single week.
We probably will, realistically speaking.
We just don't know.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, we don't know. It was his choice, and again, it's very exciting to see all these streamers that are still coming down the pipeline, and they're going to have choices. Like, who knows what's next? And if there's a fifth choice pop up, God.
I mean, that's going to be Huya.
Huya and Do You or whatever. It's going to be wild, man. Wild times. You guys, of course, can leave comments down below. Ultimately, did Toast make the right choice? We do not know yet.
For him, maybe.
Zan, the day is finally here, my man.
Oh, are we finally naming the fan base?
No.
Is that what you're doing?
Wait. I'm curious.
Because you mentioned earlier, you were talking about, okay, what's up, all you beautiful animals? And it's like, are we calling them the zoo now? Is that what's... Because I've heard you say that before, and I forgot about it.
What is up?
Literally this exact moment.
What is up, my fellow zoo animals? It's your boy, Giraffe Jake back. No, that's not what I'm doing. God, Pete's probably going to cut this. Don't cut this, Pete. Our next segment, we'll get back to that some other time in the future. I don't know what to call you guys yet, but we're thinking about it. I want to talk about, finally, an esports organization. I would say this sucks because I'm not supposed to be happy about this, and I'm not happy about this, but it finally did happen where an esports org punished a pro player, for saying something they shouldn't. And again, I'm not happy about this, but in some sense, I'm happy that an esports org finally responded, and I think they responded maybe a bit too brashly. If you guys have not seen the show before, we've talked a lot about this. Pro players throughout the past year or so saying things, homophobic slurs, racial slurs. This time around, it was actually a Call of Duty pro known as Mutex. He's a sub player for the Dallas Empire for the first inaugural season of Call of Duty League, which has not even started yet. And he is now officially, as of today, this is obviously a bit, again, pre-recorded, he has now been kicked from the lineup. So we don't know the full details as to why. We can assume, though, it's the clips that did surface where apparently he was being recorded. I don't think he didn't know he was on stream. And so he went on to say, and again, part of my language here, guys, I don't use choice words, went on to pretty much knock on people with mental handicaps based off he was talking to a teammate. It was obviously between him and a friend, but they were going at each other, arguing. He called him effing autistic and then effing the R word as well. So it was a very weird instance. And again, I know whenever I talk about this stuff, there's always the people in the chat that are like, how are you offended by that? And it's not about us.
Right, yeah. At the end of the day, I feel like it's about professionalism. to a certain extent. Professionalism and just being like a, I don't want to characterize not using such language as like, oh, if you choose to do that, you're a terrible person. But I mean, low key, I mean, it's not really the decent thing to do.
Not saying he's a terrible guy. You know, I think a lot of people out there say things between friends they would never say in public. And I don't like people out there who are like, oh, man, what? Like, he shouldn't be punished at all. He deserved a punishment because he would never say this if he knew he was on live stream. And I think that speaks a lot to it. If you would not say it to your grandma, if you would not say it on public live stream time and time again, then obviously you know it's wrong. And, you know, I think he did deserve a punishment. Did he deserve to be fired? That's a whole nother debate that I'm not really sure on. I don't really know what foot to take. I think it's...
that's a tough one.
Like,
that's a tough one. But at the same time, it's probably... I honestly come down on the side where I think it's the lack of any kind of response normally to a player dropping a word like this is like, it's a bad look for the whole scene. This is the type of thing that loses people sponsorships. And I'm not talking individuals. I'm talking whole teams and orgs. And heck, the league itself. I'm sure the Call of Duty League doesn't want to be associated with like, oh yeah, 5 of your players this year were dropping racial slurs in chat and nothing happened.
Really good point to make.
So I think on all sides, the companies just have to, it's them doing due diligence, making sure they're protected.
And I think we both stand on the point that, yeah, maybe you're not offended by this, but when it comes down to a team, an organization who's represented by these faces, and you're a pro player, I'll stick to this. You're a prominent pro public figure. You have to hold yourself to a much higher standard. And again, that's why he would not be saying this if he knew he was being recorded, if he knew he was live as well. And I will say this, I do greatly respect Hastro and Dallas Empire for responding. Maybe it was a bit too brash. Maybe they did not have a choice. Maybe, like, possible. To your point, Zan has told me maybe Call of Duty League was like, hey, sorry, you're a pro player. He broke the rule book. Yeah, the season has not started, but he signed a contract. The Call of Duty League has a strict rule book which you must abide by. He did not abide by it, so I'm sorry, you have to let him go. And so maybe their hand was forced. And we saw this earlier this year as well with Ferocities. He was a COD pro player who has now had 2 instances of saying racial slurs on stream, and according to him, he was avoided by organizations. So it's biting pros back, and it does suck to see. But I think it's a great talking point and a learning point, not only for those players who do say it, but the players out there that are up and comers who are right now tweeting out some things that they should not be saying.
Right. Yeah.
And overall, my message to conclude things is just be careful. Don't be stupid. I understand people from the ages of God knows when you hit puberty to when you're 22, like it's
probably
tough.
Below that even. Like,
you say stupid things.
Yeah.
Mutex is an adult. He got caught out, and he's paying the repercussions for it. It sucks to see, but I respect the decision, and hopefully just a learning experience for everyone involved.
So, Jakey boy, I found something kind of interesting that I want your opinion on as a concept. Not necessarily as a service. I don't know if I like this particular service, but as a concept, I think it's kind of interesting.
Okay.
So there's this thing called MondoBox. It is a contest platform for viewer interaction with stuff on Twitch.
I feel like I've heard this concept before.
Yeah.
MondoBox?
MondoBox. So basically the way it works is, say you're watching a streamer, and it does have to be a MondoBox partnered streamer, because I believe
it does have to be?
Yeah, because they host the streamer's stream on their website for their UI and everything, right? And I assume the streamer has to give permission for all that stuff.
So.
Yeah. I would hope so. Fingers crossed. Anyway, so it'll allow viewers to bet on what's going to happen in whatever stream they're watching.
Oh, frick this.
So like say, or not necessarily bet. This one doesn't work through betting per se. It asks questions, like yes or no questions.
Okay.
So it asks.
Good clarification.
Yeah. And it'll ask you, say if you're watching somebody play Fortnite, it'll be like, hey, do you think this person will make it into the top 10 in the next 5 minutes? You answer yes or no. If you get it right, you get some points. If you get it wrong, you lose a life, and you get 3 lives per day.
Interesting. Have you? I don't know if your memory stretches back this far. Have you told me about this concept before?
I believe so.
And it didn't come to fruition because you've mentioned...
through a different platform.
Yes, you mentioned an esports betting site that wanted to bet on the outcomes of what streamers would do, and me and you were like, no.
Yeah.
Because it came down... I think we talked about Pokimane and like, will she win this game? Place your bets now. It's like, no, because then you could have a moderator saying, Pokimane, throw the
easy
game.
Match fixing all over the place.
So you did mention that before. This is different.
Very different.
You can't put your own money on the site to bet?
Not as far as I can tell. It's all points based on the site. You can't put any money into the site, and you earn money based off of your placement in the leaderboards on I believe the leaderboards are daily, monthly, and weekly. And just as a concept, Jake, how do you feel about this? Not necessarily this platform in particular, because it's a little sketchy to me.
Yeah.
I don't know about Mondo Box, but I kind of like the option of maybe having something like this integrated into actual Twitch streams.
Well, first of all, we should check back on that other story that you covered a long time ago. See where they're at. This is definitely a lot, I would say, better than just straight up betting, because the conflict of interest is just too immense.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think when it comes to platforms integrating these kind of rewards, we have Twitch Prime drops and such for individual games. I don't see a downside if they can execute it correctly. I mean,
yeah, right.
Like it allows you to be more interactive. You get rewards. My worry comes then how do they make their money? Is it just like, is it people visiting the site and watching through them?
By my understanding, Mondo Box, like I mentioned, you lose a life if you answer a question wrong, right?
Yeah.
And you get 3 lives every day. You get new lives by watching either ads on the site, or you eventually, it's not on the site yet, but they're going to have it so you can buy lives. And then you have like one other monetization thing that wasn't too bad. It was like
seems like a pay-to-win model if you can just buy lives, but I guess
yeah, you can't buy lives yet.
Yeah, but it definitely
one down the line. Money. I think that's going to be a little sketchy. Which is once again why I'm kind of like I don't know about this platform specifically, but as a concept.
I definitely like the idea of it. I wish that we had integrations like this for non-live content somehow.
Right.
Just a way to get viewers more interactive.
That would be kind of cool, actually.
I'm sick of people just leaving. I love comments, but even it's tough to get people to leave comments sometimes. So I wish there was a more interactive way besides live content. I like the general idea. We'll see if they can execute.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's working out so far. People are happy with it, and they are paying people out properly.
Yeah, that's always a great thing.
On the up and up.
I feel like a lot of these concepts, though, they come around, and they go, and then
you're not wrong. I was putting together a list of all the different esports like competition websites out there.
That's why when you first mentioned, I was like, I've heard this concept before.
Yeah, there's like just at a base level, I was able to find 32.
I'm sure a lot of them are also Fortnite competition based. Fortnite popped off.
A lot of them are 100% Fortnite.
Yep.
There are a couple that are like 100% Rocket League, and then there's a bunch that are just like, hey, we do all the esports. Come by. Yeah.
I mean, if someone can do it correctly and integrate all of them, I think we're a bit away from that. But I like the idea in a broad comparison. We'll see if they can actually do it.
True.
All right, Zan, I'm going to keep this short and simple because I like the OpTic topic, and people know that I just like talking about OpTic people. So,
well, we only have so much more time that we're allowed to.
I know, true. Before I can't eat more. Eventually, people are gonna be like, "Yo, OpTic's been dead for 6 years, Jake. Shut up."
Yeah, I swear, Hector has been with NRG for 5 years. Stop calling him OpTic.
It's my duty. It's like my duty to carry the name on.
Got to carry the torch.
Yeah.
Be like, we'll just replace Genji with just like the green wall.
Yeah, it's like the OpTic content will always flow through me. This is actually going to be a quick question bounced off you. When it comes time for a content creator / a guy with an actual job in esports, choosing between that job and content creation. That's an OpTic Call of Duty coach, or former one. He was there for at least a couple of years, I do believe. His name is Teep. Otherwise, some people call him Teep. So my question to you is, when it comes to choosing, like, when you can actually move away from an esport into content. And so I'll give you the basis, and pretty much Tyler, or TP, his results now, and kind of what people are speculating his future is going to be towards full-time streaming on Twitch. And I think we've seen a lot of either ex-pro players, and I think he's also an ex-pro player himself, so he went from being a pro in Call of Duty to a coach.
Yeah, I remember TP playing.
And now he actually has a chance to be a full-time streamer. And so I'm going to ask you, what do you think about this, and at what point in time do you finally realize, I'm going to give up the career for a different career path?
Right. I haven't been keeping up with TP's, career recently anyway. But I think that decision is definitely a hard one, because on one hand, once you step away from being an esports pro player, it's going to be really hard to come back to that, because we all know there's kind of like a hard expiration date for most people on your ability to play at a certain level.
Yeah, and he's done playing. The question is now, will he ever coach again?
And see, the coaching
thing
is
easier comeback.
It's only is a whole separate bag as well, because I think you could coach and be a content creator at the same time in certain situations. Like say
That's again a very good point. He's done it in the past, and so I guess give you the numbers and let you make the choice for him. Let's have that kind of scenario.
TP, this is what you should do.
So he averages less than 3,000 viewers on Twitch. Not a ridiculous amount, but I mean the support in the COD community is absolutely insane.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
So we have so many successful COD streamers out there who do it even just part time. TP, by the way, averages less than 3,000 viewers, has over 13,000 subs. And so if we take into effect that maybe he's making 100K as a coach, but he has 13,000 Twitch subs, and if he goes full-time streaming, I think that alone, not even including tier 2, tier 3 subscriptions, donations, partners, sponsors, YouTube content, just putting that out there, I'm really thinking, if I'm him,
that's...
how do you argue? I mean, but then to your point, you could go part-time, both.
Yeah, I think because the Call of Duty competitive season isn't year-round 100%, right?
Yeah,
like you could.
There's definitely an off-season.
Yeah, you could get like an assistant coach to help out on the day-to-day for stuff, and then you come through and you're the big ringer for the actual competitive season.
But then you might have a few fans who are like, TP's always streaming, dude. He's never coaching.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of like you can balance that out nicely.
Yeah.
Because realistically speaking, I don't know what the workload for a coach is. I don't know how much.
Hey, good point. I don't know either.
Yeah. I don't know. Like whereas like I know with a pro player, they've got to be doing scrims like 8 to 10 hours a day, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if a coach is there 100% of the time watching each and every scrim. Just like, all right.
That's good. That's good. Nice.
Beautiful engage. All right.
Beautiful. Beautiful freaking engage.
Yeah.
I think you made a really good point as well when it comes time for a coach to come back to coaching. So much, at least from what very little we know in this kind of case happening, how many times do you see pro players retire and come back and actually last? It
doesn't really happen.
It doesn't happen
often.
DeFran, XQC. I mean, I guess there might be a couple of CS:GO guys who have come back but not really shined. I feel like as a player, once you retire, especially with the age restrictions, you're done. As a coach, and especially if you're making content and streaming, if you're a solid coach and you can always come back to that, and then Tyler has a successful stream, what org's not going to want to potentially bring that presence and that experience? I don't think you lose the coaching experience. You lose player skills.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think you lose that knowledge. So
actually, to that same point, here's what I'm thinking.
We're telling you what to do, Teep.
Okay, Teep.
Listen up.
This is not actual financial advice. We cannot be held liable if you decide to do this. But I think the smart move right now is to go content creation.
That's what I'm saying.
Because we both know the big money in esports right now is in content creation. Like obviously there are a couple people out there making a little like a good bit of change just from playing, but across the board,
it's
if
content
you're making
creation
money,
and sponsors.
Yeah. And if he's got a good thing going right now, you never know when that could change like that. So if he can capitalize off of his current boom of being a content creator, off of his current success, and then take that check and be chilling, and then he can always go back to being a coach.
Yes.
For that consistent paycheck.
Yes,
he can
dude.
get the little burst and then go back to stability.
I like that. I'll close off that. Tyler TP, whatever your future may be, you know what we want you to do, or suggest you should not held liable for it.
This is not legal advice. All right, you ready for this, Jake? We're going to take a step off the beaten path.
Yeah, I'm ready
we're going to go a different direction than we normally cover on the channel. We're going to talk about F1 racing.
Holy. Of all the things you were going to say, that did not reach my mind.
Yeah, right?
But
I told you
were
we're going off the beaten path.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So do you know there's an F1 racing esports scene?
I only know this. Now, I wish I was going to say no to you, but some random... Hey, again, shouts to the DM people out
the
there.
people in DMs are always,
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
It was literally probably 4 months ago. Some dude was like, "Yo, Formula One has a Twitch streaming. They're all into that now." I don't know about the whole esports side of things, but I think he was trying to get to that.
Right. Yeah.
So I know a little bit about it, thanks to the DM people out there. But tell me more about it.
Yeah, I'm not super versed in it either. I'm not a car person. I barely know how to change my battery. So I mean,
I'm with you. I struggle with trying to go in and get oil changes.
Oh yeah. See, I don't. Yeah, just feel like, here's my money. Please do
I'm
it.
like, please help. I'm so with you.
Yeah. So take this all with a grain of salt to a certain extent.
We're not car people.
But I went into let's not. I was about to go talk about like my latest car issues.
Yeah, let's not.
I hate cars. Cars are the worst.
But we love F1 esports.
Yeah, F1. Y'all are doing some interesting stuff, and
certainly
here's why. Because basically the way their esports scene works is they are in sim racers. So not all of them. They're not all like just, hey, we got a controller, we're chilling. It's like a full seat You got a steering wheel and everything going, right?
To that note, much like e-cycling, we touched on it once. They have simulated bikes. You're on a bike just like you're in a car, but it's simulated.
Yeah, and you're just like virtually racing, essentially, right? As lame as that sounds.
Sorry, the way you virtually.
Yeah,
but I'm sure it still requires a lot of skill, right?
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm so glad you said that, Jake, because that touches on the subject matter, the core of this story, where we have F1 pros who used to be esports racers, who went from being esports simulated F1 drivers to becoming real car.
Oh, it took me a while to realize what you were saying.
Like, yeah, it is like.
So you're saying that F1 esports boys are now becoming
They're
traditional
transitioning
F1
to
real
F1,
car driver men.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's freaking. I mean, that makes somewhat of sense, but that's got to be a crazy road.
I got a couple quotes from some professional drivers, some like real like IRL, like they've been doing this for years type thing.
They really drive.
Yeah. So this guy, he's the driver for McLaren. That being a sports car brand, I think.
God dang it, dude. I think most people know that.
I know. I think I've seen that in Need for Speed once. It's been a while since we've had one of those games. That's why. That's our excuse for not having car knowledge. When was the last time there was a Need for Speed that was good?
Midnight Express, Midnight something. There was an old Xbox game called Midnight something.
Yeah.
Me and my sister used to play it. That's the only time I ever knew cars.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Need for Speed is the great unifier.
Also, true.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, Lando Norris for McLaren says, in the future, I think you can get people who start in esports and come over. What? I don't think they can go straight from esports to Formula One. They would have to still do some steps like through F3, F2, and so on. But I think there's already been some drivers who have proved that having skills in the simulator can translate very well into the actual racetrack.
That's super cool.
No, yeah. And then we had a guy from Red Bull's F1 team, Pierre Gasly, saying, his real brief quote, he was like, yeah, their racing is almost more exciting than ours. It's really good fun to watch. Yeah.
That's very interesting. That actual F1 drivers are having notes about the esports scene. I'm sure someone out there is going to comment like, oh, that's like some freaking war veteran saying that a Call of Duty player can transition to being a war vet. I don't think we'll see. I can just see someone taking that ground and making fun of it in that sense. Which I mean, I don't think that translates exactly to.
No, I think there's a little bit.
They probably
more.
have a point to that.
Yeah. A little bit more in the physical realm for going to actually shooting guns from Call of Duty.
But yeah, that's super cool though. That I mean, I don't know. I'm not really sure if any, based off what you said, if any actual esports drivers have made it to the F1 level. Because
they have. Yeah, there's this guy Jan Mardenborough, who has a full-fledged F1 career. He's racing in the Super GT in Japan right now. He started in esports.
That's freaking wild,
and went from there to
That's freaking wild.
And earlier this year, just this year, there's this guy named Enzo Bonito who had a time challenge race against the former pro, recently former pro.
Yeah.
And bodied him.
You shoot him? Just bodied him on an actual car?
In an actual car.
Yo,
in a time challenge race.
F1 esports people. We're going to cover more in the future if we can actually find stories on it.
Yeah. I mean, surprisingly, the F1 scene, unlike all the other traditional sports scenes, seems super supportive of esports.
That's dope.
Yeah, there's 10 full-fledged F1 teams who have esports racers driving for them.
That's good to know because we know traditional media is not a fan of us yet.
Yeah, definitely not.
We're making moves.
Yeah, just look over at F1. You see?
All right, Zan, closing statements. Thank you all for watching as per usual, you crazy.
Thank you.
Crazy zoo animals, you. Hope you all enjoyed this podcast. Zan, you got anything to tell the viewers?
Yeah, closing statements as always. If you'd like to listen to us on the go, don't do the thing where you were watching one of those drunk driving commercials. You see the person on their phone watching esports talk, because that's what everybody does.
Is this your pitch to put him to the audio version of the podcast? Jesus Christ.
Because we're popping like that. But anyway,
half our viewers can't even drink yet. Don't listen to Zan.
Well, yeah. Anyway, drive safe. Don't watch the Esports Talk podcast video version in the car. Listen to us on the mobile version through the podcast. Through the Prediction Esports Podcast Network. It's a great thing.
You can watch any version, honestly. I don't mind either way.
I just want our viewers to be safe, Jake.
I get it, man.
That's our
You
friend.
said it in a weird way.
Yeah,
But
it was a little roundabout. I'm just trying to, because here at Esports Talk, we care.
Have you ever been a drunk driver before? Don't drunk drive.
Or no, not even. Don't be distracted and drive. We'll go with that one. I was looking for the other thing. I went to Mothers Against Drunk Driving because they're so
Oh my God, dude.
I probably saw a commercial out of the corner of my eye the other day or something. But anyway, yeah, you can find us there as always. We love getting stories from you guys. We love hearing from you guys on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. Send us messages. Our DMs are always open. We always love to hear from you guys. You can check us out on the website at esportstalk.com.
Or on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/esportstalk. Mother frickers.
Do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell. It really does help.
Thank you all for watching. Anything else? Sorry.
No, I think that.
We're losing it over here, as per usual. Again, it's a pre-recorded podcast. We hope all of you guys celebrating. Enjoy your holidays. Thank you guys for coming back here yet again for another Esports Rewind podcast. Next episode, we'll be back here same day, same time next week, and it will be episode number 30. Until then, take care of yourselves. Have a great day.
I'm ready for our midlife crisis.
I know. Oh, my gosh. Our midlife podcast crisis.
Yeah.
Coming next week. Bye, guys.